Perfect Paradox came out in Season 9. Nearly 5 years ago. All these Saint weapons debuted back in Season of the Dawn, and I plan to cover them in the upcoming weeks. I'm almost done with Breachlight, but first, it's going to be Perfect Paradox. It came out this week. I want to talk about what it can do, show some of the applications, and when you get rolls for it, start thinking about where its place is for you. And a lot are just random focusing, those Saint weapons, so I'm going to be talking about them at some point. Breachlight, Patron of Lost Causes soon. But for this video, the shotgun, hopefully it's going to be short and sweet. The rolls to go for, their application, it's 110% a PvE weapon. PvP, let's just say that the rapid-fire shotguns have never lit the Crucible world on fire. The rapid see no play. So let's start there. Real short section. Lightly go through, lightly touch PvP. I highly discourage any usage there. The rapid fires have a nice spread. It's the square. It has 12 pellets, but rapid fire frames deal 20 to the body. So that's 240 damage, meaning you need every single pellet to land. And let me tell you, being centered on the target, they're still gonna miss one way or another. And it's not a good feeling. Pretty much any other shotgun gets the down right here. They have low inherent range. I mean, this one clocks in at a 4.7 meter base. And sure, there's some appealing perks on it for the Crucible, mainly slide opening. You can put something together like rifled barrel. Wow, you get to 95 range. Don't get baited. That means nothing when you have to land all 12 pellets. And the further that they are from you, the more likely 12 isn't going to hit. These have been consistently slapped around by Bungie in the Crucible. And in the end, always, the roll in the Crucible has been right here. A 2-shot. You go for a long distance shot. You know it's not going to down, but you're getting good damage on. You shoot another shot to clean up or melee follow-up. That's the roll. That's always been the roll. But as we keep changing things, the biggest slap is the recent special ammo changes. Starting off with 1 ammo on these is brutal. So I don't care what roll you get. There's 0 hype for it in the Crucible. If you ever have an itch to use a rapid fire shotgun in PvP, just use a glaive. PvE though, we have options. And the third, we have Threat Detector, Slide Shot, Field Prep, Dual Loader, Pugilist, Threat Remover. In the final column, Trench Barrel, Swashbuckler, Opening Shot, Vorpal Weapon, 1-2 Punch, Barrel Constrictor. So the roll that was given, which I believe is just the set roll everyone gets, let me know if yours is different, is kind of where this all starts. It's Dual Loader, Trench Barrel. Trench Barrel on this thing is extremely good because the origin trait shine. Well, it shines on Breachlight too, more on that later, but this is gold. Cast No Shadows. Dealing melee damage increases this weapon's handling and loads a small amount of ammo from reserve. So after a melee, it loads in 2 rounds. If you have the artifact mod on, you can overflow those rounds, but it's a perfect pairing with Trench Barrel. And I believe that Trench Barrel is tied for the top perk overall, because after that melee hit, Cast No Shadows is refilling the mag a couple, Cast No Shadows is giving handling, and your next 3 shots deal 50% more damage with Trench Barrel. And to put a rapid fire into context on what it's kind of simulating, the base damage, like right here on this enemy, is 1,338. With Trench Barrel, it goes to 2,007. And again, there's 12 pellets, 50% more damage on those pellets, each one. I have a basic kinetic aggressive here, Astral Horizon, the Trials one. It deals 2,166. So each pellet is dealing about 8% more. And of course, that extrapolates across 12 shots, but a rapid fire with Trench is really close. It's like right there. That's how I think of it. It turns a rapid fire into an aggressive, but you have the fire rate. The DPS adds up. Like, it takes 3 shots to down this enemy. You see it with the aggressive frame fire rate, but with Trench Barrel, it also takes 3 shots, but you melee first, 1, 2, 3, it's over. And you can incorporate that into a lot of things, because after you shoot those 3 shots, if the target's still up, you're gonna melee them to proc Trench again for 3 more shots, but it loads in 2 rounds. I was taken into Master Lost sectors versus champions, just dealing with them. It's pretty good. And with something like Prismatic Hunter, you come out of Invis with a weakened melee. That's if you have Stylus Executioner. So you have weaken with your Trench Barrel shots. This class item also has Liars, so it's a melee, 3 Trench Barrel shots, then a cross counter, then 3 Trench Barrel shots. I like it. And when things like Overcharged Shotgun comes up, I'm gonna think of it, but it does work with a ton of things. Like you can take this. This is Renewal with Liars. Throw the dust field on an enemy, I get frost armor, enemies deal less damage. So I go in 29 levels below in this Master Lost sector. It's at 2030, I'm at 2001. I throw the dust field, stun the overload, then start meleeing Trench Barrel. This kind of shows the damage that this does. I do have an Liars hit too, but with the origin trait, as you see, you're just abusing Trench Barrel over and over. And again, it kind of shows the damage and what it's capable of, how quickly it deals it. And it goes for any character too. The melee, proc 3 shots, the melee gets ammo back, very good. And as far as the pairing perk, Barrel Mag, Masterwork, it's a shame that it doesn't have Assault Mag. So I would actually focus on ammo and handling. Try to get it to 8, like this base one has. If not, use a backup mag. And in PvE, you're gonna be right on them anyway. So I'll just, if you can, focus on handling and mag. But the pairing perk, we have things like Field Prep. That is an option, strictly for the reserves. It counts as 1 reserve mod. If you enhance it, it counts as 2 reserve mods, just built in. So more ammo for the Trench Barrel shots. And you also get the faster reload and handling while crouched. But really, I'd be trying to get Pugilist Trench Barrel, because the second part of Pugilist on a melee hit, it gives 35 handling. That goes to 78 base handling, and also the origin trait is giving handling, so I'm sure it's closing in on 100 handling, and that's to swap, that's to do whatever. And since it's a kinetic special, final blows, you get 20% melee back. It's perfect. So if you're actually getting kills with it, you're getting your melee charge back. If not, if you're just using it to proc Trench Barrel, that melee is doing double handling things. Me personally, Trench Barrel is my favorite perk for it, simply because the origin trait. And the Ikelos shotgun and some others have this too, but the origin trait is what sets it apart. It's also kinetic. Then we have 1-2 punch. Self-explanatory. Hitting an enemy with every pellet in a shot increases melee damage for a short time. So double melee damage. Syntheseps, grapple melee, liar's melee. With your increased melee damage, you also have the rapid fire shotgun. It's doing good damage with its fire rate. And with your melees, you're throwing a couple rounds back in. So nothing wrong with that either. But the point is, as a rapid fire, it has a ton to offer. With Trench Barrel, it's closely resembling an aggressive frame. Tad bit less damage, but much faster DPS. And there's a couple shotguns I've liked in the past with Trench Barrel. It's kind of overlooked. There was a Compass Rose a couple years back that I set the alarm on that was super rare. The Compass Rose was Turnabout Trench Barrel. What was so nice about that is you can go up to a shielded enemy, melee them. You have Trench Barrel shots. The first one will break the shield. When that happens, you get an overshield. And when you break a shield, they stun there for a second. So 2 free easy shots, then you melee trench again while you have an overshield. The latest version of Ikelos has this too. Same but different. And some other perks work on this too. We're keeping in mind the Cast No Shadows giving a couple rounds back in the magazine after you melee. There's Vorpal Weapon. It's a kinetic, 20% more damage. Things like Swashbuckler work. You've seen a lot of gameplay of the Punchy Hunter just rolling around, going invis, Caliban, Liar, whatever it is. Swashbuckler is obviously going to be up the entire time. But again, I look at it like this. If it's involving a melee anyway, to help the origin trait, to throw rounds back in, to make it a fine-tuned engine, it really does involve 1-2 punch because it involves a melee or trench. And I think about all those scenarios with Vorpal's 20% or Swashbuckler's 33%, and it always being up. If I'm doing melees anyway and loading in, I might as well get 50%. This stock roll, dual loader isn't bad at all, because even though your melees are knocking in a couple rounds, when you actually do reload, this is also doing a couple rounds. And if I remember correctly, they took away all the penalties, like it just straight up legit reloads 1 additional round. Threat remover, threat detector in PvE doesn't make any sense. There is a case for slide. I've always loved giving ammo back. It gets 50% on that slide. You get some range and stability, but it's been more so for the Crucible. And as far as getting ammo back, the origin trait and the perks itself has you covered. So you might hate to hear it, but this is something worth having. Its loop is pretty special. And real quick before I go, to end with, as far as the Bungie layoffs, I'm not going to make a dedicated video to that, but it is a systemic problem from the top. It is a proven systemic problem. And when I say that, top leadership. And if you read these blogs, everything said in those blogs are a smokescreen for directly that. It is word for word, bar for bar. It's a smokescreen for the failures at the top. And I said some stuff on Twitter that I've muted the thread. But today we're talking about the perfect paradox. And I'm a solo player. I find value in something like this to know that I can go into harder content as a solo. And if there's a champion, this thing will chunk them down. I find value in that. But then again, we're all different. We have different playstyles, different exotics we like to use, different subclasses we like to use, and it might not just gel well with those. But just know its gameplay loop keeps up. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Let's talk about Perfect Paradox down below. What are your thoughts on it? Most use 1-2 punch in PvE because of all the melee builds, but this is making a case for Trench Barrel. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.